Meghan Markle is in deep trouble again. But this time, there's no palace to shield her, no Netflix contract to save her, and not a single headline willing to play defense. What's happening behind the scenes right now isn't just another PR tantrum. It's a complete meltdown, with millions of dollars lost, and her Hollywood dreams crumbling faster than ever before. Let's start with what Meghan never saw coming: rejection. From every major studio she tried to charm: Netflix, Paramount, Warner Bros., HBO, each one backed away. Some ghosted her completely, and others pulled out of deals without hesitation. Why? Because after a string of flops, backstage chaos, and rising frustration from executives, Meghan's reputation hit rock bottom. These weren't just rumored deals. Real projects were in motion, and one by one, they all collapsed, leaving her scrambling for relevance. The worst part? The numbers. Insiders say she lost tens of millions in film roles, partnerships, and production opportunities. Opportunities that could have rewritten her career? Gone. Almost overnight. One insider even claimed Meghan had her team prepping for red carpet appearances before the ink on the deals had even dried. Classic misstep. Now, instead of dominating Hollywood with prestige projects, she's stuck on Instagram, doing damage control, and acting like her podcast is thriving. But behind closed doors, it's a different story. Sources say Meghan is livid. She feels betrayed, not just by studios, but by the entire industry. And she's not holding back. She's blaming everyone, from corporate executives to the US government. Yes, according to Meghan, it's not just Hollywood sexism, it's the government's fault too. She's painting herself as a victim of toxic masculinity, claiming studio heads prioritize male leads, while women like her are pushed out. But here's the thing: people aren't buying it. Not even her old fans. Even her former supporters are questioning: is the problem really Hollywood? Or is it Meghan herself? Insiders describe her as overly demanding, hard to work with, totally out of touch with post-pandemic Hollywood. One executive said, "It's not because she's a woman, it's because she's Meghan Markle." Brutal. But it sums things up, because while Meghan tries to frame this as a fight for equality, people point out actresses, great and mediocre, are still landing solid roles. And here's where it gets wild. Meghan still clings to the label actress, as if it holds real weight today. Let's be honest, aside from Suits, which wasn't even a major success when it aired, she hasn't had a meaningful on-screen role in years. Yet, she speaks like a misunderstood, Oscar-worthy performer, blocked by a sexist industry. But here's the truth: studios simply won't want to work with her anymore. And after she publicly accused the entire industry of conspiring against her, that already short list of allies got even shorter. Still, Meghan isn't stepping back. She's digging in deeper, chasing sympathy online, trying to reframe herself as a misunderstood creative. But the question is anyone still listening? The breaking point came when she made a desperate play to win back Netflix. According to reports, she personally reached out to Ted Sarandos, pleading for any deal. Anything to stay relevant. But Ted? He wasn't interested. After all the missed deadlines, the creative disputes, and the non-stop drama from their first collaboration, Netflix gave her nothing. Not even a meeting. Insiders say she was stunned. In her mind, things weren't over, just temporarily on hold. But in reality, Netflix had already moved on. They were done. And from there, it all started to spiral. Meghan began delivering long, emotional speeches about being a woman in a broken system. She slammed Hollywood as a toxic boys' club, accused the media of erasing her, and claimed the lost roles were personal attacks on her values, her motherhood, her creative identity. But she didn't stop there. She also started throwing subtle shade at other actresses, suggesting they were handed roles she was more qualified for. She never named names, but everyone in the industry knew exactly who she meant. And instead of gaining support, it just made her seem disconnected and bitter. In classic Meghan fashion, she tried to flip the narrative. She suddenly pivoted, focusing on her podcast and social media, now claiming they were her true passions all along. According to her, rejection from Hollywood was a blessing in disguise. Now she could speak directly to the people. But let's be honest, If she'd landed even one major role, that podcast would have disappeared overnight. Audiences picked up on the shift. What started as glamour and royalty quickly turned into complaints and conspiracy theories. And fans? They've started tuning out. Podcast views? Unreliable. Instagram engagement? On the decline. Even the emotional captions and curated family photos aren't bringing them back. Critics are more vocal than ever. They say Meghan is using feminism to deflect from the real issue, her behavior. Even longtime defenders are backing off, admitting she may not be the icon they once believed in. The more she speaks, the more it feels like she's trying to convince herself that she's still relevant. But Hollywood? It doesn't have time for constant drama, and it rarely gives second chances. Once the industry turns its back, it doesn't turn around again. And Meghan seems to finally understand that. The last moves left. That's why she's growing louder, posting more, clinging to any platform that still gives her space. Because when the spotlight fades, all that remains is the echo. Her new game plan? Control. Control the narrative, the visuals, the message. She's rebranding once again. Not as an actress, not as a duchess, but as a digital personality. The type who posts inspirational quotes over beach photos, takes passive-aggressive shots at critics, and pretends none of it bothers her. But behind the screen, it's a very different picture. Frustration, anxiety, and above all, fear. Fear that the last doors are shutting, that there's no next act waiting. Sources say she's throwing herself into Instagram, because it's the only space she still controls. There, she can filter the lighting, crop the frame, and control the narrative. But in Hollywood, there's no filter strong enough to fix a damaged reputation. People talk. Executives, assistants, publicists. And what they're saying isn't flattering. Studio heads have labeled her difficult. Meetings would drag on endlessly because she demanded full creative control, even when she didn't grasp the process. She'd leave notes on scripts, not about the story or character, but about shifting the spotlight onto herself. One executive said bluntly, working with her felt like walking through a minefield of ego. And it's not just the studios who are exhausted. The fans are too. Her recent posts draw a mix of diehard praise mitts and quiet, tired eye rolls. People feel like they've seen this movie before. The rise, the fall, the self-pity campaign. Meghan plays every role, the lead, the victim, and the director. But the script never changes. Only the stakes keep getting lower. And somehow she seems fine with that. There's a forced cheerfulness in every caption, as if pretending everything is okay will eventually make it true. She talks about healing, empowerment, self-worth. But to many, it feels like a distraction from the truth. Her public image is cracking. Her career is in freefall. And her future is shrinking by the day. Supporters say she's just staying authentic. That she refused to play the Hollywood game. But that strategy only works if you're winning. And Meghan? She's not. She's lost roles, burned bridges. And now, she's holding on to platforms built more on illusion than real influence. There's talk of lifestyle products, eye creams, wellness ebooks, desperation disguised as reinvention. The woman who once stood on royal red carpets and dreaming of producing Oscar-worthy content is now hoping Instagram captions and podcast ads will keep the lights on. It's no longer about fame, it's about survival, staying visible, staying in the loop, staying relevant, in a world that's already moved on. In the end, Meghan may still believe she was meant for something bigger. But belief will only carry you so far. Eventually, the world stops listening, and all that's left is the echo of what could have been.